This is a Glitterball podcast. Before we get into today's episode, please remember I'm judging these housemates based solely off of an edit and not as total people. Please don't send them any hate, it's just a game show. Fishbowl friends, after 47 days inside that house, we finally have a winner. Richard's only bloody gone and done it, and we're going to unpack all of it in the finale edition of He's Always Watching. For one final time this season, welcome to He's Always Watching. From Glitterball, this is He's Always Watching, a Big Brother podcast. Hello Fishbowl friends and welcome to the finale edition of He's Always Watching. We have a winner to talk about and so much more. Oh my god, after 47 days, we finally crowned our winner. Well, Britain, you've crowned your winner. This is bonkers. I can't believe we're here. This has been such a wild, chaotic, very opinionated on my behalf season. And I'm just so excited to unpack this last stretch with you and just put a cap on what has been a phenomenal series. Now, I'm going to save all of my emotion to the end of the show because we don't need me falling to bits right now, but I do have some thank yous at the end of the show, and I want to tell you the plans going forward as well. So, let's unpack the headline news. Richard has gone and won Big Brother UK 2025. Oh my god. I was shook when I saw the final two. This feels really fitting because both of them had been on such massive journeys and really deserved that final spot. Elsa had grown so much, and Richard, I think Richard was just a center pin of this series, what with his feud with Caroline, his bonds with Jenny and Elsa and Tate. There was a lot to love here, and he has done a fantastic job at representing himself, and indeed, not to put too fine a point of it, and indeed a older demographic of housemate as well, because now he is officially, as far as I can remember, the oldest housemate to win Big Brother. So that is something for the history books, folks. We have watched Big Brother history in the making with Richard's win, and I think it is very well deserved. I honestly, though, would have been happy with either of our final two, or indeed either of our final three, really winning this show, because to be fair, they've each given a lot to this process. Whether I loved or completely despised some of her actions sometimes, Jenny gave us great television as well. But to me, the real success story of this final three is Elsa, because the transformation that Elsa has had in that house is nothing short of phenomenal. I'm still in shock at the Elsa which we see leaving this process versus the one that arrived. I think all it really took was her getting comfortable with the people around her. I've sat and thought about this for a bit actually, and I do wonder if that was the key problem. She felt like such a fish out of water in the beginning, and it took time for her to acclimatize. And then, of course, all the things that Big Brother throws at these housemates. Was it just that she took longer to acclimatize than most? Because I feel like Will put it well in her interview of, was the eviction the turning point? And it's fascinating how an eviction can really shake up a housemate to actually go, hold on a minute, where am I? I have to enjoy this experience. And I think that's true. I don't know if it was the eviction. I argue maybe it was more her becoming more comfortable with herself in the environment. That is my suspicion. I could be wrong. I love that we ended on such a high note with Richard and Elsa as our final two. When we've had a roller coaster of a season, from returning former housemates to fake evictions to absolute meltdowns over game-changing twists. Now we'll unpack the season as a whole. As tradition, in the wrap episode, once the dust is settled, we'll come back and kind of dissect and pull apart some things and have some fun. Maybe even have a special guest or two. We'll see. I, for now, however, want to move on to before the grand finale, but we are going to do that right after this break. I'll see you shortly. Welcome back, Fishbowl friends. For one final task, our housemates were transported to the world of Oz, with Wicked taking over the house. And this saw the housemates put into pairs for a task to rebuild the yellow brick road. But that, of course, was never quite that simple, because Big Brother threw in some questions that were voted on by the public. Oh, I love when they do this, truly, because it really does send a cat amongst the pigeons. This was really, really fun. Very well themed. They must have had some budget for this. I know I always talk about the theming, so bear with me. But very nicely presented. They must have had some budget left over for this one. We got a Wicked themed eye. We got the drapery around the house. There was a lot to love here. And the yellow brick road in particular, I thought was very well done. These questions certainly stirred the pot, didn't they? With Jenny being called the least loyal and the one that's least changed for good. It's interesting seeing her have two very different reactions in the house, and then when she's interviewed about it, going, oh no, I kind of called it. Well, it's like, you didn't act like that when they were reading them out, did you, love? This was, I don't think it was meant in a mean-spirited way, but I do think it was probably a bit of a wake-up call for her, that maybe the public weren't fond of everything she's done in that house. And it was actually interesting that when she was watching her best bits back, even she was like, oh. So I wonder, was that the start of the, uh-oh, what have I done? And now, of course, she's out. She'll get to see what we've seen. I also thought these pairs were interesting, though, I must admit, with Jenny and Emily being paired together, and Richard and Tasia. Tasia was such a good sport with this, because I don't think she would have chosen to be paired with Richard by any means, but she was a very good sport about this. I have to say, they were a really great duo and worked really well together during their chance at building the yellow brick road. I did, however, think that the time advantages were a little bit useless, I have to be honest, when all that was really at stake is two people were going to be serving the rest of the housemates' food. Big deal. That doesn't matter. Like, what stakes is that, Big Brother? And when I say that doesn't matter, just look at what Emily and Jenny have said when they came out of the house, that them working together as the caterers was a bonding experience. So I don't think that one really worked, how they were maybe planning for it to do. But I must say, it was very nice these last couple of days to just have a calm, fun house, unlike last year where they were fighting right up until the very last minute. It's really nice to see the joy at the end of the road, if you will, the pot of joy at the end of the rainbow, and this was a fun way to end it. However, we have to talk about the backdoor evictions, and maybe that wasn't quite so fun. I have to be truthful, this one really shocked me. I cannot believe that 46 days in, the public voted to evict Marcus and Tasia. I was shocked at this. You could have knocked me over with a feather. Emily and Tate were right there, British public. What are you doing? For the most part, Tate and Emily have given far less to this experience than Marcus and Tasia. So I was really shocked with this result. I do not understand it whatsoever, and am absolutely floored that Emily and Tate made it to the final. Fair play to them that they did, but it's just like, It's almost as nonsensical as last year's vault. Almost. Not quite. I must say, who I really felt for in the backdoor evictions was, of course, Elsa, but it did give us potentially the most iconic vintage Big Brother energy diary room meltdown that we have seen all season. It was these glimpses of Elsa's over-the-top nature that we've seen all season. It really came to a forefront in this moment. I have never, and I feel bad saying this, I have never laughed so much at a diary room all season. This was, I know she was terribly upset and like grieving the loss of her in-house boyfriend and her best friend, so I apologize, Elsa, but you have to understand that was incredible television. The unfiltered Elsa that we got in that moment, I'm like, I wish we'd seen more of this, because we saw it with the hairdryers and then it came back out to play here, and I was like, this, Elsa, this is why you're here. And I loved it. I was like, and I feel bad saying I loved it given that she was in distress, but she delivered how she was feeling in such an engaging way that I was like, this is great. And I was like, oh man, I wish we got to see more of this, because I feel like it would have made this series even more entertaining. And by more of this, to clarify, I do not mean more of her in distress. I mean more of this honest, unfiltered, maybe a little over the top version of Elsa. I love it. This was absolutely brilliant and potentially up there for a highlight of the series for me, because it was just so unexpected to see her so unfiltered, and I was living for every second. But that brings us back around to the grand finale. I think that these placements, generally speaking, were correct. I think that maybe you could have switched Emily and Tate, but everybody else was pretty in the right spot. I am surprised, however, that Cameron did not actually get further. Personally, for me, it's the right placement for Cameron, but I was surprised that the voting public potentially did not put him higher on the voting tally at the end of the day. It kind of did shock me. So there we go. Richard is our winner, but we're not quite done, because we have to talk about some of that chaos on Late and Live. I don't think we have seen a more chaotic episode of Late and Live this season than that. Caroline kissed Richard? You had Sam and Zila sitting together one moment and completely separated the next. You had a very awkward exchange between those two. Like, I don't think they will ever speak again after that house, after that exchange. Ugh. There was just a lot to go, oh my god. Also, I love that Cameron B chimed in like, mate, you were there for 2 seconds. You've gotten more airtime on Late and Live right now, or on Late and Live this entire season, than you actually have in the house. So I guess well done to you, but like, the one I felt for was poor Ganny, who was out on the first week and still kind of just got crumbs. But this was a very spicy episode of Late and Live. Like, there, honestly, you could do a entire half an hour reunion episode that was just unpacking all of the drama from this house. I think Richard, well, aside from Caroline's lipstick, I actually want to know, how did Richard genuinely feel about that? Because that was kind of gross and a little unnecessary. But then Caroline does like a good shock value moment, doesn't she? And it's very interesting to me how she has completely changed her tune, given that she was still after him with a pitchfork during her late live when she was evicted. And it's very interesting to me now that she's like, oh, it was just pantomime. Oh, I don't mind him. Ma'am, you were literally calling him the Antichrist. So isn't it interesting how the public opinion can move things? Because you also saw Nancy try to backpedal a bit as well. And I was like, okay. So definitely, I think if they keep Late and Live next year, even if they don't, they need to do a reunion special, because you need to gather them all in one room and unpack the chaos, because that was honestly some of my favorite viewing of the night, was watching them all squirm on those little pews. Fabulous television. But there you have it, my friends. We have reached the end of the road of what has been an absolutely bonkers season of Big Brother. I am not going to cry, I'm not going to cry. But I need to say thank you, because this season has beaten all of my expectations. Okay, we are going to cry. This season has beaten all of my expectations beyond all my wildest dreams. I always put my heart and soul into this show, but I'm so grateful to have had so many of you with me this season, listening to my natterings on a show that I just love and adore. I'm not gonna cry again, it's fine. I need to say a huge thank you to my friends and my family for their support this season. You guys have been wonderful as always. I need to thank our honorary UK correspondent, Mr. Dean Quinton, for joining me on this journey and being one of the highlights of my year. But most of all, I need to thank you for watching and listening and being on this journey with me. To have so many of you with me each week, because I've seen the stats and this show is the biggest it's ever been this season. And that kind of spins me out a little bit. But I love you for it. I'm so grateful, because I love this show. And yes, I get heated at times and I get a little soapboxy and I have my feelings and my grumps, but it all comes from a place of love. And I do this because I love talking about this show and getting into the weeds, and to have all of you here with me doing that each week, just, it makes me so happy. I'm so excited that this season has been such a success as it has. It means the absolute world to me. Who would have thought going on a quiz show would lead to the best season of a podcast I love very dearly? I'm going to stop crying. I'll be back in just a second to wrap the show. Alright, now that I've pulled myself back together, thank you for being here. If you want even more Big Brother, do not fear, because we still have our Australian adventure to complete, with our first eviction coming in very hot. And once the Australian adventure is done, we are heading back to the UK and back in time as we head back to 2009 to finish our adventure there in the weekly format. But fear not, I will see you very soon as we wrap up this season in a nice little bow in our traditional season wrap episode. I'm gonna go and have a glass of champs and a little bit of a nap, but I will see you very soon. In the meantime, remember, and I want you to say it with me one last time this season, in the meantime, remember, Big Brother's not the only one who's always watching. I'll see you soon. Bye.